All right, wrapping up the AFC East, we get the New York Jets, 5-12. Last year, Aaron Rodgers out as quarterback. We have Aaron Glenn coming in. New regime all the way across the board with the Jets. Justin Fields takes over as starting quarterback, and they're over-under on the lowest end there with the worst teams in the league of 5.5.
Our workout buddy, Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, we were throwing some weights around with Aaron over at the scouting combine, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Give him a little head, and I was like,
At least in the gym at the same time.
congrats, coach.
Yeah.
Congrats.
You could probably lift more weight than Aaron Glenn, just size-wise.
You would think.
I mean, it depends on the exercise, but you're pulling weight capacity, I would imagine.
He was working hard. He was working
was.
hard during combine week. Thoughts on the Jets here? It's a transition year for the Jets. Joe Douglas out as GM, and whatever that happened last year, middle of last season. I don't know that he did an awful job. It's another one of those, right? You come back, you missed on the quarterback, and I think when you decide to go get Aaron Rodgers, the other moves that they made were also decent for their time, but it's like you go for it. Now all of a sudden you lose a lot of veterans, and you got to restock, and that's kind of where the Jets are right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting run because they've drafted some pretty good players. Now, again, they got a ton of credit institutionally for that sort of the season where they had 3 first-round draft picks, but they did, like, all 3 of them seem to be pretty good players right now. You got Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, who both just got given their big second contract based off how good they've been. Jermaine Johnson, I think, is a solid player. The next pick after that was Breece Hall, who is a talented running back. Like, that's a pretty good draft haul from 4 picks in the top 35, 40 picks, whatever it was for Breece Hall. You had a lot of high draft picks, but they do seem to have hit on them, and that's not a given. It's been an inconsistent, but I think solid enough drafting history in the last few years for this team. But I think, honestly, this was just, Woody Johnson is your owner. This was like, you went in for this one thing, it didn't work, I'm going to fire everybody.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Darren Muji comes in as GM, Aaron Glenn as head coach, and I think where you are from a roster perspective with the Jets, there are some of those nice young nucleus pieces that you mentioned. Throw in Quinnen Williams on the defensive line, and it's a transition year. I mean, they're paying Justin Fields $20 million a year, which is a transition bridge type of quarterback year. As I've said all offseason, though, the way Fields plays and the way he's played in his most recent 12 starts or so, 8-4 in his last 12 starts, right? Finished strong in Chicago in 2023. Early last year, remember the Steelers are 4-2 with Fields under center. He looked like he was reading out a little bit quicker. That's been the biggest issue for Fields, is seeing the field, pulling the trigger when he needs to, just making good decisions with the football. But he would always balance that out with he could throw it pretty well, and his legs were unbelievable in Chicago mostly. So I've always seen him as a high. I see him now the way he's played the last 2 years as a high floor type of quarterback. So I think the Jets have a chance to be really competitive between Fields under center, the offensive line, the 2 bookend young tackles, Olu Fashanu, and then first rounder Amon Membu, a really good interior of the offensive line. So I like the line. Garrett Wilson on the outside. I certainly have questions about the rest of that receiving core, the playmakers generally. But I think from a run game, keep it close perspective, I think they have some ability. And then defensively, it's interesting the body types that they have at corner, the length that they have with Sauce Gardner, Azariah Thomas as a rookie. They've got some long corners where if they could play that press man
coverage,
right, that annoying style that the Lions played under Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
There's some volatility to the defense where if it hits right, all of a sudden, this team's in a lot of close games.
That's a big thing, right? This defense has been built and designed now to play aggressive, physical press man coverage. That's what Aaron Glenn wants to run. That's what he was running a lot with Detroit last year. And I think the Jets' corners are absolutely cut to make that type of deal. And this is going to, like, the people that are like, all Sauce does is hold every single play. Oh, you're going to love this season. This is what he's going to be asked to do every single play as well. So I'm fascinated to see if Sauce can have a kind of bounce-back season. I think he was the best corner in the NFL for the first 2 years he was in it. And then last year had a relative down year, and now people are acting like the guy sucks. I want to see what kind of bounce-back season he has within this defense. I think it's perfect for him, and his skill set. I'm fascinated by Justin Fields still. I don't know if he's going to get much better, but he remains just a wild quarterback where that athleticism is freakish. Like those guys who can make something ridiculous happen, like one-on-one, when your left tackle blows a play, you make Myles Garrett look ridiculous and turn it into a positive play. There are not many quarterbacks in the NFL that can do that. So even if you're going to have a lot of bad plays in there as well, or you're going to leave a lot of meat on the bone because you're just not seeing it and trusting it and throwing, it's fun to watch those guys.
I think let's go back to like the process that the Jets had before they landed on Justin Fields. At the time, we said, hey, that's good process. When we say something's good process, it doesn't mean 12-win season incoming. It's absolutely going to work. What were the other options for the Jets at quarterback? New head coach, new general manager. Roger, you're overhauling everything about the building. Everything in the building is getting overhauled. Devontae Adams is out. Aaron Rodgers is out. So what were you going to do at quarterback in a draft class where there were 2 first-round quarterbacks? You were picking at 7. The second first-rounder was Jackson Dart, who was a fringe first, goes late. So you had nobody to draft at 7. And so they bring in Justin Fields. And on a buy low where, again, he's won some games recently. He has a great skill set. He looked unbelievably accurate at Ohio State. It's just a matter of, all right, can we get more consistent? Can we cut down on some of the turn downs, the misses that he's had in recent years? That's absolutely a great opportunity. Bring him in as an opportunity to see if we can get something out of him. If not, fine. We'll draft somebody next year. So I like the process of landing on Justin Fields. It might be a 6-win season. Fine. But the idea of like seeing what you could have, because if you do get the best out of Justin Fields, all right, then maybe he is the guy to build around. We've seen enough of that in the NFL in recent years with Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, et cetera, et cetera. Why not see what you can get out of Fields here? Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action.
Yeah, and I think Fields is. I think there is a jump to be had in his game. I don't know if he'll ever achieve it or if he'll ever make that jump, but I do think it exists theoretically or potential-wise. His biggest problem, I don't think it's an inability to read a defense as much as trust his eyes, right? And I think those are 2 slightly different things. There are guys that can look at a defense and simply they don't understand what it is they're looking at, and they're never going to be able to make the correct decisions time to time. I think Fields' issue is more he's seeing it correctly. His eyes are going to the right place, and then he just doesn't trust it enough to put the ball in the air and actually pull the trigger. Where it's interesting is, so number one, like you said, in Ohio State, he has the accuracy. Like he's got the ability to put the ball where he wants it, when he sees it, when he trusts it, and puts the ball in the air. He's also more than got the arm to do it as well. So we've got NFL caliber athleticism, not just NFL caliber, elite caliber athleticism, NFL caliber arm, NFL caliber accuracy, and then the big thing is getting him to trust his eyes and put the ball in the air. Now, part of the changes this offseason is obviously shifting in coordinators, and out goes Nathaniel Hackett and everything that went with him and Aaron Rodgers, and in comes with Aaron Glenn connections to that Detroit Lions offense and Ben Johnson's offense. And in particular, the thing that characterizes that Ben Johnson offense is he's in that like paint by numbers, I'm going to give you the direction, I'm going to give you the game plan, I'm going to give you the plays, and you just have to execute. I'm going to give you the instruction manual, and all you've got to do is follow it and put the thing together, right? And Goff is really good at that. Goff, I think, excels when he has a coach that's able to lead him to those things, whether it's Sean McVay, whether it's Ben Johnson. If the Jets are able to do that with Justin Fields, that feels like a way that might get him there, right? I'm going to give you the directions. All I need you to do is to verify what I've told you, give it the green light, and put the ball in the air. Again, I don't know if it'll happen. Maybe Fields is just tapped out at what he already is. But if I was trying to find that jump in his game, that's the type of offense I would want to put him in.
Our friends, you'll like this as the analogy guy that you are. See Ball, Get Ball, the podcast by David Pollack and our friend Brent Rollins. Trent Dilfer was on there last night, and they were asking about Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. And his analogy was the butcher versus the surgeon. They're both using a knife, but the surgeon is precise. So it's Ben. So the analogy is Ben Johnson is the surgeon, whereas Caleb Williams stylistically is the butcher, right? And so you should listen to it as the analogy king. Trent Dilfer came up with a really good one, surgeon versus butcher, and how those two different styles will mesh.
Okay, sure. Don't love that one, but I remember
Trent said it better than me.
Remember when we talked about the difference between an algorithm and a heuristic?
Sure.
That's the Ben Johnson thing. Ben Johnson is an algorithmic scheme. Ben Johnson is going to give you the step A to B to C to D, and then you just execute, right? Some other offenses, I think, I think an algorithmic offense and head coach is a good thing for Jared Goff, and I think it's probably a good thing for Justin Fields. Previously, I think Justin Fields has been in more of a heuristic type of offense where it's like, just go up, right? Just go in that direction, figure out the pathway yourself, and I don't think that's been helpful for him because I think he paralyzes himself by indecision. I think he needs a head coach, or again, if you're going to get that jump of him, what I want him in is an offensive coach that's going to say, this is the step to get there. Go up, left, right, forward, hit A, right? That's what you want. So I think it remains a good metaphor for the type of offensive differences, and I think the Jets have the right guy for Fields.
Defensively, I mentioned the length that they have at corner. The Lions played as much man coverage as any team in the league last year. If that's the route that the Jets want to go, intrigued by that. And Brandon Stevens comes in from the Ravens. He was getting torched last year. They did bring him in for $12 million a year, but I would love to see if the rookie, young Azariah Thomas, can challenge for that starting spot opposite Sauce Gardner. And all of a sudden, you've got two really long corners who are difficult to get off the line of scrimmage and just throw off timing. And from a pass rush perspective, I think with Will McDonald coming off the edge, with Jermaine Johnson coming back, remember he was injured last year, missed a lot of time. Quinnen Williams on the interior, they have a chance to get after the quarterback. I got some questions about defensive tackle beyond Quinnen Williams. I loved Leonard Taylor III as an undrafted free agent last year. They don't have a lot of hold the point, nose tackle type body types there, so I think they've probably weak, I'd say, a defensive tackle despite having Quinnen Williams, but an intriguing group of at least pass rushers to complement the long corners that they have, and some pretty active linebackers with Quincy Williams and Jamie and Sherwood. So I think the defense has a chance to be feisty, and if you pair that with an offense that has a QB run game and maybe shortens the game a little bit, I think that's why the Jets ultimately are going to be competitive and maybe a pain. As long as Aaron Glenn, this happened, unless he's just
terrible
over his head as a head coach, right? You never know when that's going to happen.
Right.
With any of it, you could say this for anyone. Assuming he's a fine head coach, I think they're going to be just a tough out every single week.
And you've got some young guys on both sides of the ball that I think have the potential to either step in and be good right away. Whether it's Mason Taylor, tight end, Membu, their first round rookie this year, or guys that have been moving in the right direction, but maybe didn't hit the ground running immediately and are still getting better. Will McDonald is becoming the kind of pass rusher that they hoped he might be when they drafted him. It didn't happen right away, but I think he is actually turning into that guy. It's training camp season. It's hype season. Fashanu apparently has looked fantastic so far in training camp. I loved him I think he had the best pass blocking chops of any tackle in that draft when he was drafted. Again, didn't quite look that way right away, but if he's able to, year two, take a significant step, that could be a huge development for them as their left tackle. They've got some cool pieces.
I thought Fashanu, he reminded me of Laramie Tunsil, a guy that I thought had top 5 pass blocking potential. And when he finally settled in at left tackle down the stretch last year, I think we started to see that. So I'll call it a transition year for the Jets, who they're going to be, I think, difficult to play every week. And their over-under's 5.5. I'm going to go over this because of everything I've said about Fields and his ability to just, I think, bring some level of volatility or shorten the game just enough that the Jets have a chance to pull off a few extra wins than the 5.5. I think they're better than that, even though you lose so many flashy players like Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. And I know they also, by the way, they won 5 last year with Rodgers.
Right.
Playing a whole season. It wasn't like he got hurt. He played the whole season, and they still only won 5. But I think the reset in culture and youth and everything will work in their favor, and I'll go over the 5.5 here for the Jets.
Yeah, same. I think they'll be better than that. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit this subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
The all-knowing algorithm is convinced that you'll like these videos as well, and frankly, who are we to argue?